Hello, forever friends and family. I would like to welcome everybody to webinar number 11, Think and Grow Rich, the book written by Napoleon Hill. Today is January 15th, 2024, and half a month of January 2024. So let's continue our journey when we read, study, and hopefully implement skills and knowledge from this book number one from previous century and number one in this current century. So Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill. Let me start to read it. Forward. What do you want most? Is that money, fame, power, contentment, personality, peace of mind, happiness? The 13 steps to riches described in this book offer the shortest dependable philosophy of individual achievement ever presented for the benefit of the man or woman who is searching for a definite goal in life. Before beginning the book, you will profit greatly if you recognize the fact that the book was not written to entertain. You cannot digest the contents properly in a week or a month. After reading the book thoroughly, Dr. Miller Reese Hutchinson, national known consultant engineer with and longtime associate of Thomas A. Edison, said, "This is not a novel. It is a textbook on individual achievement that came directly from the experience of hundreds of America's most successful men." So the chapter we're going to read today, continue to read, is Organized Planning. The crystallization of desire into action, the sixth step toward riches. You have learned that everything man creates or occurs begins in the form of desire. That desire is taken one of the first lap of its journey, from the abstract to the concrete into the workshop of the imagination where plans for its transition are created and organized. In Chapter 2, you were instructed to take 6 definite practical steps as you first move in translation to the desire for money into its monetary equivalent. One of these steps is the formation of definite practical plan or plans through which this transformation may be made. You will now be instructed how to build plans which will be practical. A. Ally yourself with a group of as many people as you may need for the creation and carrying out of your plan or plans for the accumulation of money, making you the mastermind principle described in a later chapter. Compliance with this instruction is absolutely essential. Do not neglect it. B. Before forming your mastermind alliance, decide what advantages and benefits you may offer the individual members of your group in return of their cooperation. No one will work indefinitely without some form of compensation. No intelligent person will either request or expect another to work without adequate compensation. Although this may not always be in the form of money. C. Arrange the meet with the members of your mastermind group at least twice a week, and more often if possible, until you have jointly perfected the necessary plan or plans for the accumulation of money. D. Maintain perfect harmony between yourself and every member of your mastermind group. If you fail to carry out these instructions to the letter, you may expect to meet with failure. The mastermind principle cannot obtain where perfect harmony does not prevail. Keep in mind these facts. First, you are engaged in an undertaking of major importance to you. To be sure of success, you must have plans which are faultless. Second, you must have the advantage of the experience, education, native ability, and imagination of their minds. This is in harmony with the methods followed by every person who has accumulated a great fortune. No individual has sufficient experience, education, native ability, and knowledge to ensure the accumulation of the great fortune without the cooperation of the other people. Every plan you adopt in your endeavor to accumulate wealth should be joint creation of yourself and every other member of your mastermind group. You may originate your own plans either in a whole or in a part, but see that these plans are checked and approved by the members of your mastermind alliance. If the first plan which you adopt does not work successfully, replace it with a new plan. If this new plan fails to work, replace it, in turn with still another, and so on until you find a plan which does work. Right here in the point is the point of at which the majority of the men meet with failure because of their lack of persistence in creating new plans to take the place of these which fail. The most intelligent men living cannot succeed in accumulating money nor in any other undertaking without plans which are practical and workable. Just keep this fact in mind and remember when your plans fail, that temporary defeat is not permanent failure. It may only mean that your plans have not been sound. Build other plans, start all over again. Thomas A. Edison failed 10,000 times before he perfected the incandescent electric light bulb. That's it. He met with a temporary defeat 10,000 times before his efforts were crowned with success. Let me read it again. That's it. He met with a temporary defeat 10,000 times before his efforts were crowned with success. Temporary defeat should mean only one thing, the certain knowledge that there is something wrong with your plan. Millions of men go through life in misery and poverty because they lack a sound plan through which to accumulate a fortune. Henry Ford accumulated a fortune not because of his superior mind, but because he adopted and followed a plan which proved to be sound. 1,000 men could be pointed out, each with a better education than Ford's, yet each of whom lives in a poverty because he does not possess the right plan for accumulation of money. Now I would like to continue to read my friend and partner, assistant supervisor from Brooklyn, Zoya Sergey. Zoya, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Your achievement can be no greater than your plans are sound. That may seem to be an axiomatic statement, but it is true. Samuel Insull lost his fortune of over $100 million. The Insull fortune was built on plans which were sound. The business depression forced Mr. Insull to change his plans, and the change brought temporary defeat because his new plans were not sound. Mr. Insull is now an old man. He may consequently accept failure instead of temporary defeat. But if his experience turns out to be failure, it will be for the reason that he lacks the fire of persistence to rebuild his plans. No man is ever whipped until he quits in his own mind. This fact will be repeated many times because it is so easy to take the count at the first sign of defeat. James J. Hill met with temporary defeat when he first endeavored to raise the necessary capital to build a railroad from the east to the west. But he too turned defeat into victory through new plans. Henry Ford met with temporary defeat not only at the beginning of his automobile career, but after he had gone far toward the top. He created new plans and went marching on to financial victory. We see men who have accumulated great fortunes, but we often recognize only their triumph, overlooking the temporary defeats which they had to surmount before arriving. No follower of this philosophy can reasonably expect to accumulate a fortune without experiencing temporary defeat. When defeat comes, accept it as a signal that your plans are not sound. Rebuild those plans and set sail once more toward your coveted goal. If you give up before your goal has been reached, you are a quitter. A quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. Lift this sentence out. Write it on a piece of paper in letters an inch high and place it where you will see it every night before you go to sleep and every morning before you go to work. When you begin to select members for your mastermind group, endeavor to select those who do not take defeat seriously. Some people foolishly believe that only money can make money. This is not true. Desire, transmuted into its monetary equivalent through the principles laid down here, is the agency through which money is made. Money of itself is nothing but inert matter. It cannot move, think, or talk, but it can hear when a man who desires it calls it to come. Planning the sale of service. The remainder of this chapter has been given over to a description of ways and means of marketing personal services. The information here conveyed will be of practical help to any person having any form of personal services to market, but it will be of the priceless benefit to those who aspire to leadership in their chosen occupations. Intelligent planning is essential for success in any undertaking designed to accumulate riches. Here will be found detailed instructions to those who must begin the accumulation of riches by selling personal services. It should be encouraging to know that practically all the great fortunes began in the form of compensation for personal services or from the sale of ideas. What else, except ideas and personal services, would one not possessed of property have to give in return for riches? Broadly speaking, there are two types of people in the world. One type is known as leaders, and the other as followers. Decide at the outset whether you intend to become a leader in your chosen calling or remain a follower. The difference in compensation is vast. The follower cannot reasonably expect the compensation to which a leader is entitled, although many followers make the mistake of expecting such pay. It is no disgrace to be a follower. On the other hand, it is no credit to remain a follower. Most great leaders began in the capacity of followers. They became great leaders because they were intelligent followers. With few exceptions, the man who cannot follow a leader intelligently cannot become an efficient leader. The man who can follow a leader most efficiently is usually the man who develops into leadership most rapidly. An intelligent follower has many advantages, among them the opportunity to acquire knowledge from his leader. The major attributes of leaders, the following are important factors of leadership. Number 1, unwavering courage based upon knowledge of self and of one's occupation. No follower wishes to be dominated by a leader who lacks self-confidence and courage. No intelligent follower will be dominated by such a leader very long. Number 2, self-control. The man who cannot control himself can never control others. Self-control sets a mighty example for one's followers, which the more intelligent will emulate. 3, a keen sense of justice. Without a sense of fairness and justice, no leader can command and retain the respect of his followers. 4, definiteness of decision. The man who wavers in his decisions shows that he is not sure of himself. He cannot lead others successfully. 5, definiteness of plans. The successful leader must plan his work and work his plan. A leader who moves by guesswork without practical, definite plans is comparable to a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later, he will land on the rocks. 6, the habit of doing more than paid for. One of the penalties of leadership is the necessity of willingness upon the part of the leader to do more than he requires of his followers. 7, a pleasing personality. No slovenly, careless person can become a successful leader. Leadership calls for respect. Followers will not respect a leader who does not grade high on all of his factors of a pleasing personality. 8, sympathy and understanding. The successful leader must be in sympathy with his followers. Moreover, he must understand them and their problems. 9, mastery of detail. Successful leadership calls for mastery of details of the leader's position. 10, willingness to assume full responsibility. The successful leader must be willing to assume responsibility for the mistakes and the shortcomings of his followers. If he tries to shift this responsibility, he will not remain the leader. If one of his followers makes a mistake and shows himself incompetent, the leader must consider that it is he who failed. 11. Cooperation. The successful leader must understand and apply the principle of cooperative effort and be able to induce his followers to do the same. Leadership calls for power, and power calls for cooperation. There are two forms of leadership. The first, and by far the most effective, is leadership by consent of and with the sympathy of the followers. The second is leadership by force without the consent and sympathy of the followers. History is filled with evidences that leadership by force cannot endure. The downfall and disappearance of dictators and kings is significant. It means that people will not follow forced leadership indefinitely. The world has just entered a new era of relationship between leaders and followers, which very clearly calls for new leaders and a new brand of leadership in business and industry. Those who belong to the old school of leadership by force must acquire an understanding of the new brand of leadership, cooperation, or be relegated to the rank and file of the followers. There is no other way out for them. The relationship of employer and employee, or of leader and follower, in the future will be one of mutual cooperation based upon an equitable division of the profits of business. In the future, the relationship of employer and employee will be more like a partnership than it has been in the past. Napoleon, Kaiser William of Germany, the Tsar of Russia, and the King of Spain were examples of leadership by force. Their leadership passed. Without much difficulty, one might point to the prototypes of these ex-leaders among the business, financial, and labor leaders of America who have been dethroned or slated to go. Leadership by consent of the followers is the only brand which can endure. Men may follow the forced leadership temporarily, but they will not do so willingly. The new brand of leadership will embrace the 11 factors of leadership described in this chapter, as well as some other factors. The man who makes these the basis of his leadership will find abundant opportunity to lead in any walk of life. The Depression was prolonged largely because the world lacked leadership of the new brand. At the end of the Depression, the demand for leaders who are competent to apply the new methods of leadership has greatly exceeded the supply. Some of the old type of leaders will reform and adapt themselves to the new brand of leadership, but generally speaking, the world will have to look for new timber for its leadership. This necessity may be your opportunity. The 10 major.
Zoe, thank you. Please take a break. And I have a question for everybody. We're at this big portion of the book today. What is the most valuable sentence you choose for yourself, if any? Any volunteer? May remember something very special. To me, it was very special. I knew this sentence before. We spoke and we repeat on the webinars and then the training in the past. I just would like to refresh your memory. What is the most valuable for you, of course, but I will share with you my thoughts. Anybody?
For me, leadership without consent will not endure.
Yes, absolutely yes, but it's not what I'm looking for, Iris. You join us a little bit late. We read it before, so you miss it today, but you will review it on a recording webinar. Anybody else? And no doubts, when they read it, everybody will say, of course it is. Any volunteer? Any guess? Nadia, please go ahead. Don't
Hello,
wait too long.
everybody. There are many that we can refresh our memory, but one of the things is a quitter never wins and winner never quits.
You
I
heard
think
my
it's
applause, right? Winner never quit and quitter never win. Great. Thank you, Nadia. Excellent. Now, everybody, Nadia included, have a bonus. I would like to share something with you today. Please hold on. Let me share the screen. Zoya, please confirm what do you see on the screen?
Is the penguin?
Okay, let's watch it. Thank you, Aris.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And thank you, Zoya, for sharing this video with me just 30 minutes prior to the webinar. Okay, let's continue to read. Let me share the screen again. And I would like to continue to read my friend and partner, the most reliable manager from New Jersey, Iris Cristobal. Iris, please go ahead. The 10 major causes of failure in leadership.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Soy, and beautiful bird video. The 10 major causes of failure in leadership. We come now to the major faults of leaders who fail, because it is just as essential to know what not to do as it to know what to do. Number 1, inability to organize details. Efficient leadership calls for ability to organize and to master details. No genuine leader is ever too busy to do anything which may require of him in his capacity as a leader. When a man, whether he is a leader or follower, admits that he is too busy to change his plans or give attention to any emergency, he admits his inefficiency. The successful leader must be the master of all details connected with his position. That means, of course, that he must acquire the habit of relegating details to capable lieutenants. Number 2, unwillingness to render humble service. Truly great leaders are willing, when occasion demands, to perform any sort of labor which they would ask another to perform. The greatest among you shall be the servant of all, is a truth which all able leaders observe and respect. Number 3, expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with which they know. The world does not pay men for that which they know. It pays them for what they do or induce others to do. Number 4, fear of competition from followers. The leader who fears that one of his followers may take his position is practically sure to realize that fear sooner or later. The able leader trains understudies whom he may delegate at will any of the details of his position. Only in this way may a leader multiply himself and prepare himself to be at many places and give attention to many things at one time. It is an eternal truth that men receive more pay for their ability to get others to perform than they could possibly earn by their own efforts. An efficient leader may, through his knowledge of his job and magnetism of his personality, greatly increase the efficiency of others and induce them to render more service and better service than they could render without his aid. Number 5, lack of imagination. Without imagination, the leader is incapable of meeting emergencies and of creating plans by which to guide his fellow followers efficiently. Number 6, selfishness. The leader who claims all honor for the work of his followers excuse me, is sure to be met by resentment. The really great leader claims none of the honors. He is contented to see the honors, when they are any, go to his followers, because he knows that most men will work harder for commendation and recognition than they will for money alone. 7, intemperance. Followers do not respect an intemperate leader. Moreover, intemperance in any of its various forms destroys the endurance and the vitality of all who indulge in it. Number 8, disloyalty. Perhaps this should have come at the head of the list. The leader who is not loyal to his trust and to his associates, those above him and those below him, cannot long maintain his leadership. Disloyalty marks one as being less than the dust of the earth, and brings down on one's head the contempt he deserves. Lack of loyalty is one of the major causes of failure in every walk of life. Number 9, emphasis of authority of leadership. The efficient leader leads by encouraging and not by trying to instill fear in the hearts of his followers. The leader who tries to impress his followers with his authority comes within the category of leadership through force. If a leader is real leader, he will have no need to advertise that fact except by his conduct. His sympathy, understanding, fairness, and a demonstration that he knows his job. Number 10. Emphasis of the title. The competent leader requires no title to give him the respect of his followers. The man who makes too much over his title generally has little else to emphasize. The doors to the office of the real leader are open to all who wish to enter, and his working quarters are free from formality or ostentation. These are among the more common of the causes of failure in leadership. Any one of these faults is sufficient to induce failure. Study the list carefully if you aspire to leadership and make sure that you are free of these faults. Some fertile fields in which new leadership will be required. Before leaving this chapter, your attention is called to the few of the fertile fields in which there has been decline of leadership and in which the new type of leader may find an abundance of opportunity. First, in the field of politics, there is most insistent demand for new leaders, a demand which indicates nothing less than emergency. The major of the politicians have seemingly become high-grade, legalized racketeers. They have increased taxes and debauched the machinery of industry and business until the people can no longer stand the burden. Second, the banking business is undergoing a reform. The leaders in this field have almost entirely lost the confidence of the public. Already the bankers have sensed the need of reform, and they have begun it. Third, industry calls for new leaders. The old type of leaders thought and moved in terms of dividends instead of thinking and moving in terms of human equations. The future leader of in industry to endure must regard himself as a quasi-public official whose duty it is to manage his trust in such a way that it will work. Hardship of no individual or group of individuals. Exploitation of working men is a thing of the past. Let the man who aspires to leadership in the field of business, industry, and labor remember this. Fourth, the religious leader of the future will be forced to give more attention to the temporal needs of his followers in the solution of their economic and personal problems of the present and less attention to the dead past and yet unborn future. Fifth, in the profession of law, medicine, and education, a new brand of leadership and to some extent, new leaders will become a necessity. This is especially true in the field of education. The leader in that field must, in the future, find ways and means of teaching people how to apply the knowledge they receive in school. He must deal more with practice and less with theory. 6. New leaders will be required in the field of journalism. Newspaper of the future, to be conducted successfully, must be divorced from special privilege and relieved from the subsidy of advertising. They must cease to be organs of propaganda for the interests which patronize their advertising columns. The type of newspaper which publishes scandal and lewd pictures will eventually go to the way of all forces which debauch the human mind. These are but few of the fields in which opportunities for new leaders, a new brand of leadership, are now available. The world is undergoing a rapid change. This means that the media through which the changes in human habits are promoted must be adapted to the changes. The media here described are ones which more than any others, determine the trend of the civilization. When and how to apply for a position. The information described here is the net result of many years of experience during which thousands of men and women were helped to market their services effectively. It can, therefore, be relied upon as sound and practical. Media through which services may be marketed. Experience
Iris, thank you very much. Take a break, please. Thank you. It's enough for today. Thank you for your reading. Thank you, Zoe. And I have one more surprise for everybody to share. Let me share the screen with you and we will enjoy some beautiful thing. Please stay with me. Can you see the screen, Zoya?
Yes, we see the concert. Cool.
Okay, okay, let's watch it.
amazing. Thank you, Alex.
Amazing. No, it's not. It's a thank you to Nadia Ettinger, who shared with me this video yesterday. Beautiful.
Thank
Nadia,
you,
thank
Nadia.
you very much.
Oh, thank
Thank you,
you.
all readers. Thank you, Zoya. Thank you, Iris. And thank you, everybody. and I'll see you next Monday. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot.
You see you
Good night.
next
See you
Monday.
next
Have a
Monday.
beautiful week,
Goodbye,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.